go. I've got a
Okay.
heavy breeze coming your way, Joel. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Shoot, let's see.
How ready are you?
Well, existential crisis ready.
That's
As
it.
always, as always.
As always. And I think this is the existential crisis, like it's the mother of all existential crises.
Really?
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
so
For sure.
look forward to it.
Okay, so here's the deal. First of all, is there a meaning? No, what's the meaning of life? Or is there even a meaning after all?
Okay. Okay. That's the first one, at least, is the classical one.
Yeah,
But
what's the
is
meaning of
there
life?
even a meaning?
Joy.
Yeah, and I think this is pretty much accurate, but it's just a word. I think that it's worth a breeze, not only a word.
Okay, okay,
So, okay. So suppose it has a meaning.
okay.
Do you think it is 42?
I don't know. What the
You
hell is
you have been
42,
you have
man?
been anxious for that one, right?
I've
Okay.
been all week. I didn't sleep all week. I didn't eat. Okay. I had like nightmares at night thinking about 42.
Number 42 running after you, haunting you.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's I think it's interesting to go into that explanation of
All right.
42 for the meaning of life. I think it will help a breeze, all right? So the thing is, this comes from a guy that is, in my view, a genius, an absolute genius, who is Douglas Adams. Um, he wrote, well, he wrote a few. I don't know. He made he possibly he's not alive anymore, but he wrote a. I don't know if a few books, if a lot, if lots of books, but he's famous for the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Have you heard of it?
Mm, yes, I definitely have.
Yeah. It's amazing, amazing work, amazing,
Is it?
an amazing series of books. The way he writes is unique. The way he conveys, like, not necessarily existential crisis, but the way he conveys profound concepts of life, about life, in funny, like British funny stories. It's amazing. 42
Okay.
comes from that. So here's the thing. Um, he tells stories that happen all around the universe and different galaxies and stuff. So there were these people once in a planet, in a galaxy far, far, far away, a long, long time ago. But so they were questioning themselves that actually the actual question was, what is the answer for the ultimate question about life, the universe, and everything, right? So that's how they packed our question for for this grid. So um, it's important that it's put that way. Um,
Right.
what's the answer to the ultimate question about life, universe, and everything? So they wanted to answer that question. So they started building a computer.
Mm.
This computer would be so powerful that it would be able to answer the ultimate question, right? So how long they took to build a computer? They took 1 million, kind of, I don't know the exact number, but it's something like 1 million years to build the computer. So the name of the computer is Deep Thought.
Mm.
And once they turn the computer on, they find out, you get to know the answer finally. So they kind of talk to the computer, okay? So they don't type or anything. So the
Oh,
computer speaks. So they asked, "Oh, deep thought, what is the answer for the ultimate question about life, the universe, and everything?" So in deep thought answer, I need to think about that one. Okay. So for how long? Okay, so come back in 7.5 million years. That's the time I'll need to ponder on that question. Oh God. Okay, I will have to wait for 7.5 million years. So time passed. This was already a legend. There are people. So
Mm.
the the people that would make the question for deep thought already were born with that mission, right?
Wow.
And yeah, all the people was waiting for that. So okay, 7.5 million years have passed, and um, they went there. There was a crowd cheering, and oh, we'll get the answer. Okay, finally,
Finally.
and uh, they went to deep thought. Oh, deep thought. Do you have the answer for the ultimate question about life, the universe, and everything? Yes, but you're not gonna like it. I don't care. Just tell me. Just tell me. What's the answer? Okay. Are you ready? The answer is the answer for the ultimate question about life, the universe, and everything is 42. What? Yes, I kind of calculated it twice. It is 42. What? What does it not? What am I supposed to do with this? Well, I told you you were not gonna like it. But so if you don't know what to do with that answer, probably you made the wrong question. So this is the playful thing that Douglas Adams makes. So he kinds of I think that what he actually says there is, hey, it's not a simple thing, but you understand how he builds the story until he gets to it.
And you're like, oh
And
my God, I need to know.
and actually, I think the actually most interesting part is that Deep Thought actually says, actually they ask Deep Thought. So Deep Thought, so what is the question for the ultimate answer? Or what is the ultimate question for the answer about the universe and everything? And Deep Thought, oh, I can't answer that, but I can build a computer that will answer that.
Oh my
And it turns out, as far as I remember, so people that remember more could tell us in the comments or anything. But so that computer that Deep Thought was elaborating, was designing to answer that question was planet Earth. That makes me think, that makes me think. So is Douglas Adams embedding like the universe, like the answer. So say planet Earth and everything that exists in planet Earth is a machine, right? It's a very, very complex, intricate machine that's working, and that's the question for the ultimate answer about life, the universe, and everything. Somehow, I think I'll get to somehow I think I'll get to the meaning of life is living life and dealing with things. I don't know. Was I clear about my understanding?
Yes, yes, you were crystal clear. My mind is blown. I love it.
Yes, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing, and
Yeah.
that's one story of the several ones in the Hitchhiker's Guide of the Galaxy.
Well, now I gotta read it.
Yes, and it's funny. The
Ah,
best thing is it's funny.
yeah, I'm speechless because I think that goes, it's like a nice illustration of many different cultures answers or attempts at answering that question, right?
Yes.
When I said in the beginning, the meaning of life is joy, right? Like joy is the answer to God knows how many cultures. They have
Yeah.
different ways of explaining it, but at the end, the meaning is having building memories, right? Spending time with family. I don't know,
Hmm.
doing good to the world or whatever, and all of that comes to joy, comes to feeling that and experiencing that is what the supercomputer called Earth is kind of doing,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah,
It's
and even if
amazing.
it's not joy, if the meaning of life is figuring out, right? Because you could go
Yeah.
that route as well. Like, what's the
Yeah.
meaning of life? Figuring out, learning, like growing. Yeah, right? Like,
I think, yeah, that's why I think joy is joy is a too much simpler word for
yeah,
actual meaning. I
totally.
mean, of course, we all want that. You could argue that all we do in life it's that because we are going after joy. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's not the whole story. I mean, think about the difficult parts of your life, and you understand how they shape you and how they were important for you. You wouldn't choose to leave them if you were asked to, but learning to go through the process and considering it again from now on is kind of part of the meaning of life. It's not joy, but it brings some joy that you learn how to walk that path better.
I don't know if you've heard this theory because you're more on the material side of things, right? It's a spiritual theory that I don't know if I should call it theory, but whatever. Just
Mhm.
know that
No,
I
no,
mean well,
there's no. I
right?
have no problem with that wording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we do before we like the spirit comes to earth, we do talk to God or whatever the higher power, and we choose the pehengues. We choose the difficult parts of our life because we have an objective in mind, right? And this objective could be joy, or it could be figuring out, or it could be learning. But that you said that we would never have chosen that ourselves, but this way of thinking, and I like to believe that. I like to choose that as a belief that I hold. As in, no, all the hard stuff that I lived through, I picked it out,
Mhm.
right? It
Mhm.
wasn't just unfair or whatever.
Mm.
It
So
wasn't
yeah,
just
so
by chance.
that's a point that I see it differently. So I think one of the keys for figuring out the meaning of life or being happy or anything is acknowledging the unfairness
Mm,
and living through it,
okay.
doing your best to live through it, right? So yeah, I think it's not easy. It's hard, and I catch myself like kind of sad about this sometimes, like revolted about the unfairness.
Sure.
It's much easier when I stop and think that even though there are lots of unfairness that I am subject to, and uh, everybody's at some point, I am still in a place of privilege, uh, like small things. I have a roof over my head. I don't have to worry if I need to eat. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have this worry in my mind. So, oh, will I suffer with hunger today or not? No, I don't have to do that. I don't
You have
have
freedom,
thugs.
right? To
I have
go
freedom.
walk around, to
Yeah.
choose what you're gonna do.
Yes. I have I don't have thugs like harassing me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Can you give me
I
just a sec?
right. So um, and also in addition to that, one important thing is that like of course, you have this privilege as well. I mean, we can just do secondary things to be to go after joy. Like we can schedule a barbecue for today. We can go to a bar, to a restaurant today, just to have fun. We take it so much for granted.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I so okay. So I always breeze about this privilege because it in our culture is it's not even considered a privilege. We talk
Mm.
about this as
That's a
it's just how
fundamental
things
right,
are.
sort of.
Yeah, but probably most people in the world don't have that, right? I don't know if most people in the world, but a staggering number of people in the world do not have this opportunity.
As a matter of fact, if you go back in time, like many kings and chiefs of tribes didn't have this privilege,
Yeah,
right? It was
yeah.
highly, the further back you go in time, the more you see how much of a privileged position this is, right?
Well, think about it. If kings had a in the 15th century had a toothache, there was probably
Mhm.
death sentence. That could be the death sentence,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They probably didn't use cutlery. This was expensive stuff. I heard that Napoleon like how things evolved. So Napoleon had like gold cutlery, but
Hmm.
for the real special guests, he used the aluminum ones because aluminum
Mm.
was much more difficult to deal with. It
There you
was
go.
more noble, more noble. So
Today,
we have like pans, like I just fried an egg in aluminum here. So
yes. I heard somebody say once, and this stuck with me, that back in the era of kings, right? Like when this was the norm, um, it was really, really rare to eat a pineapple, right? To eat grapes. If you
mm,
had the chance to eat grapes, you were like getting a picture done of
yes,
you, like, oh, putting that to your mouth. And today, you can just go to the store and buy grapes and
yeah.
pineapples. Not that big a
Probably it
deal
was
for most
equivalent
people,
to
right?
a Probably it was equivalent to a champagne fountain, something like that, chocolate fountain.
Yeah. Yeah. So I see the position of privilege, but I do have a semi breeze here, right? Like a breeze
Okay.
inside the breeze, sub breeze, I
Mm.
guess. Um, do you believe that this privilege erases the suffering or the unfairness, right?
Excellent. That's excellent. And I think it's important. And yes, I learned to think about that. No, it doesn't. You can acknowledge you are privileged, but that does not invalidate your sufferings. You suffer as well. And you
Mhm.
always be because life emerges from suffering as we had the breeze. So
Yeah.
no matter what, so and you see the unfairness. So I think I always think so. I'm a lot into Formula One, and so stop and think. So if these guys, I don't know, what would be a unfairness to them? I don't know. Sorry, that's let's roll back here. So it's kind of unfair that those guys have that kind of luxury, and we don't.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
feel kind of jealous about that sometimes.
And it's
And
kind of unfair that you get to go to the dentist and kings didn't.
it's kind of unfair that I have basic things like a roof over my head and food and autonomy, and a
Mhm.
crack user in the street doesn't have any of these.
Mhm.
Even hygiene, these
Mhm.
people are not even able to take care of their hygiene. So it's unfair also. I am I am like a Formula One racer in comparison with that person.
Yeah. And this reminds me of a breeze that we haven't breezed into yet, but It's like this comparison thinking, right? Is that
Hmm.
unavoidable?
Oh, that's a whole breeze, right?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so. But we can just like tease this breeze
yeah,
here,
we can tease.
all right? Is
Um,
it unavoidable because everything is relative, right? Mm.
yeah. So I'm sorry, I just blanked out from, you know.
That's how you know it's a good question.
Yeah. No, I know because I hadn't blanked out when I answered that. I
Okay.
I don't know if it's ADHD thing. Or
Yeah, well, it might be. Yeah.
could you
But
repeat the question?
no, so as not to like go into a different topic. The idea
Mhm.
is what I hear you saying is that for you, um, you will have to acknowledge the unfairness and accept it as an inevitability of life,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
then practice gratefulness by looking at your privileges and how you have a lot going for you, right? I
Yes.
get that. And then we're saying that one does not invalidate the other, they kind of go together, which is a
Mhm.
very spiritual philosophy, right? Like you cannot get the good without the bad. And this
Mhm.
idea of contrast is needed in our experience. I think we've even raised that about that before.
Mhm.
And the thing that I like to add to this for my own well being is that there's choice involved in this. That the
Mhm.
unfairness is not just unavoidable, that the unfairness was
That
actually
is,
chosen, right? That
well,
somehow
okay.
we choose that because they come together. Because I want this,
Mhm.
I choose this together.
Okay, so I mean, I remember that part. Just the last breeze talk. There was a topic that I that I was saying that there is a whole we have a whole breeze topic for that one, and I just forgot that. But I mean, what we're talking here, I remember everything. I just
Okay.
blanked out on that one.
Okay. Do you want to talk about it?
I want to remember what it is. I know I have a comment about that, but okay. It's the comparison thing. It's just that one. So it is the comparison thing. Is the comparison unavoidable? And
Mm,
how do you
okay.
deal with it? That's the thing. That's the only part I blinked out about.
Yeah, well, because you're saying that you're trying to practice gratitude by comparing
Yeah.
yourself to others and
Yeah.
seeing your position of privilege, right?
Mhm.
For you to do that, you have to use comparison thinking. You have to compare yourself to other people, right? But
Yeah.
when you don't compare yourself to other people, you see all the shittiness and all the stuff that you wish you hadn't had to live through or something like that. At least for me, that's true, right? I can look back and see a million things that I wish were not needed. Um, and that's why I brought the comparison thinking thing. If
Yeah.
because you use that, you see the good, the positive
Yeah.
that comes together with the negative, right? You're able to see that
Yeah.
contrast.
Yeah. So in one sentence, I don't like the saying, don't compare yourself to others. I don't like it. I think it's misleading.
What
I
is?
think
Can you say that again?
so. I don't like the sentence. Don't compare yourself to others.
Ah, okay, okay,
I don't
gotcha.
like this one. I think it's absolutely misleading. And you try and oh, I need to stop comparing myself with other people. You don't get to do that.
Mhm.
To practice gratitude, this is the basis of gratitude. So, oh, you have food, other people don't. Oh, you have, but I mean, for the positive things, you compare yourself to others. For the negative things, oh, don't compare yourself to others. I mean, yes, do compare yourself to others and learn how to do it and not be miserable.
Yeah.
I
And
think
since
I think it's so misleading. Like there are so many things so misleading, so obvious and so misleading in the
yeah.
common.
All right,
How do you
let's
think
do
of that?
this sub breeze, right? Comparison, whatever. We can just go into that one
Yeah,
and then make our
sure.
way back out into the other one.
Yeah, I'm curious. How do you see it? About how do you see it?
Yeah,
I'm just going to turn on my fan here. Okay, no need to stop or anything.
sure. I think I agree with you in the sense that if you don't practice comparison thinking, you lose too much, right? Because you're not gonna have any kind of parameter of what's not even good and bad. But for example, I always go back to this thought when I think about this in my mind. When you think about the theory of relativity, right? Everything in the cosmos is relative to something else, right? How do you know if a planet is big or small? Like you don't even have a parameter to think about it, to process something, if you don't have something to compare it to, right? How do you know if something is fast or
Yes.
slow? Like as compared to what? As opposed to what? So I don't think it's unavoidable because that's how we worded the question, right? Is that unavoidable? No, I don't think it's unavoidable. But I think if you avoid it, if you stop doing it, you lose too much. You stagnate. You hit like a dead end, right? The price is too high for not comparing yourself to others. Oh, but you need to compare yourself to yourself in the past. It's still comparison thinking, right? You're still comparing. You need to have something. Okay, another thing. I'm having a whole bunch of ideas here, and we can work it
I
out here.
understand. I agree with
Yeah,
much of what you're saying.
yeah. Because there's another thing that also gets me, and when you talk about child psychology, right? When you're raising children, one of the things that really helps children is mirroring things to them, right? Like if a child did
Mirroring.
a drawing, mirroring, and mirroring
Okay.
is showing them what they did, right? Like
Okay.
for example, if a child does a drawing and the drawing is really beautiful and you're like, oh my god, this drawing that you did has perfect lines and you've colored within the lines, you're showing them what's desirable, right? And they're gonna understand desirable by comparing themselves to you, right? You the parent, you the adult. So how the hell will they know what to do if they cannot compare themselves to the parent,
Yeah.
right? If they don't receive any kind of mirroring, it's almost like it's a human thing to learn where to go and what decisions to make based on the other people around them. So how the hell are you going to not compare yourself to anybody? So you can't compare yourself to your parents, to your community, to
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
I think it's kind of absurd. Only if
Mm-hmm.
you think of a kind of impossible thing that it's a person like growing up by himself, herself,
Mm-hmm.
and never knowing another person.
Yeah.
Because okay, I'm hungry because I'm feeling this. Okay, I'm thirsty
Mm-hmm.
because I'm feeling this, and so. But basis. When we live in society, we think so. I'm hungry and I like chocolate, and I can't, but that person can because they can afford and I cannot. So it's start the comparison, right? And they can afford
Mm-hmm.
because they had more opportunities and I didn't. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's simply unavoidable.
Okay, can we
Okay, you
maybe
didn't
think?
like the word unavoidable, right? You didn't like unavoidable.
Yeah, because I don't, this is a bias of mine, right? I don't like to think about impossibility. I just like thinking about the price you pay for a specific thing, right? Is it impossible to build a supercomputer that has the answer to everything, right? I don't think it's unavoidable. I don't think it's impossible. But what's the price you're going to pay? Are you ready to pay with 6.5 million years, right, of human
Mm-hmm.
endeavor? Or 7.5, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
however many millions of years. But that's just a bias of mine. That's why
I see. Yeah, I understand.
I'm
Yeah.
picking at that word.
I think yeah, but I think we converge here that in the sense that we don't see it happening in practice, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't see
That,
it happen.
practically speaking, yeah. Like if you just indoctrinate a child from an early age not to ever compare themselves, I think they'll end up paralyzed, unable to make a single decision.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think they eventually will unconsciously do that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, but here's something that I was breezing into, I guess, as you were talking. Can we think about comparison thinking as a spectrum of comparison, right?
Yeah.
That maybe there's a limit here where it starts to become a detriment to you, and maybe there's a point here that is just an impossibility, a practical impossibility, right? Where would you draw the line of where it's healthy? And healthy is a relative word as well, right? But what's beneficial to the person and what's not.
That's a cool breeze. I haven't thought about that. So I was breezing as you. And by
I
the
just came
way,
up with it
new
right now.
term. By the way, we have a new term for cool breeze.
Cool breeze.
That's
That's
a
a
cool
cool
breeze.
breeze.
So okay, is that a spectrum? So I tend to think that things in life are always a spectrum. Like we categorize things because that helps our thoughts. We need that, but we fall into the trap of manichaeism. Is that a word? Like we fall in the trap that we think that things are black and white and they're always a
Mm,
spectrum. And so in the
mm-hmm,
in the inertia of always categorizing things to organize our thoughts, we end up thinking that reality is that way, and it's not the case. So
okay.
all of that just to say that I think things in life are all inside a spectrum.
All right.
What about comparison? I I don't know. I kind of breezing a lot, breezing
Breeze,
along.
yeah, breeze in real time here.
Yeah, but could that be a spectrum? Uh,
Yeah,
what
because
I'm
I'm
thinking
thinking like
is,
one of the lines that I would draw is when you start comparing yourself and looking at unfairness in a negative way, right? Like this person has it, I should be able to have it too. This is not fair. And you start like nurturing this emotion, right? This is not right. I think that comparison thinking becomes a problem here,
uh-huh, yes, yes.
right?
So, well, okay, I'll just shoot out in my mind here
Sure.
about this thing being a spectrum, this thing of comparison being a spectrum. So what I'm thinking is, could I just compare myself in a series in lots of aspects, and there are aspects that I don't care too much. Maybe because I think right now about an example, um, which is fitness. Like I care about fitness, um, but I see lots of content. I see that there's lots of contents in YouTube about bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I care about the kind some level of fitness, I simply do not care about that level or that bodybuilding does. But it's not that, hey, but you would like to have the body like that. I don't really care. No, no,
Couldn't care
I
less.
wouldn't want to be huge. I wouldn't want. I mean, when I trained, there are certain parts of my life that I train and I see, I don't know, in my arm something that it's similar to that bodybuilder. Okay, cool, nice. That's a sign that it's something
It's
different. But
working.
yeah, but okay, okay. So I will offer you that. You don't have to. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to train. You just be like that guy. Do you want it? I don't care. I don't care. I don't think I really want it. You
Okay.
know, maybe I could choose that just because I'm kind of I wanted to be leaner than I am today.
Okay.
Maybe, but because of that. not because I want to be huge or anything. So I don't know if you get what
But
I'm saying here.
what if there
Is
was
that
no price to it? If at a snap of the finger you could just get that body, would you choose it then?
yes? So yeah, that's the point. I think the only reason I could choose
Hmm.
become that bodybuilder guy by the snap of, of a finger is because I want to be leaner than I am today. That's it. A bit leaner. A bit leaner. That's it. That's it. So maybe I wouldn't even I wouldn't even choose. Okay, I snap my finger. You'll be about a billion. No thanks. I'm into other things, right?
And that's my point. I want to like build a thing here, okay? You probably wouldn't choose the snap of the finger. What do you gain by not choosing that? By having to put in the work to get a little bit leaner?
Okay, what I would gain by
Yeah,
putting on the work, right?
by
Yeah.
refusing the snap and actually putting in the work to get a little bit leaner and maybe not getting that body.
So if I put on the work, um, and it works, right, and it helps, I will be glad about it. Right? So I would have done something that benefited me. If I put on the work and it didn't make a difference, and I'm not satisfied yet, so I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, and
And
I
that's part
think
of the thing. That's part of the thing. I wouldn't choose it. I need to acknowledge that it would be part of the thing. I need to acknowledge that to kind of work on the meaning of life. But I wouldn't choose that. I wouldn't choose to fail. You see, it's a thing that I breathe a
mhm,
lot about. I would never choose to fail, but I need to acknowledge that I will fail
sure.
sometimes.
And I think that this is intrinsically connected to the meaning of life, if there is one, right? I'm now breathing in the possibility that there is.
Okay. Uh-huh.
It's related to figuring out, right? To putting in the work, seeing that it worked, and then feel the joy, right? Or putting in the work, seeing that it didn't work, and then now learning that this one doesn't work, that maybe it's a different thing that'll
Yeah.
work, like this perseverance, right? Or whatever. I think this is, if there is a meaning to life, this is what I like to believe that it's tied into.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Either way, you're working your path through, right?
Yeah. And that's
So,
why before coming to this life, I would choose, right? As a spirit inside that theory, I would choose to not have a ripped body, to come in as a person that has to struggle to get into some kind of a shape, because that's the meaning. The whole thing
okay.
is putting in the work and figuring it out. Make sense?
Yeah, so that's a point where we diverge.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if I know that it's unthinkable, but if I got to choose, I would I wouldn't choose anything negative, anything, absolutely anything.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
but you could ask, so what would life be if everything was perfect? Everything just isn't. I don't think about it because everything for
Mm-hmm.
me just isn't. That is just
Yeah.
a construct, a verbal construct that we make that doesn't have a meaning in reality, you
Sure.
know. But about the meaning of life, so while you were speaking, I was breathing here. I I am convinced there's an answer to that question. And yes, there is a meaning to life. I cannot say I'm sure.
Really?
Yeah,
I
but I
wouldn't have
am
thought that.
convinced. But the thing is, the secret thing is, maybe we will diverge that one as well. Um, I don't think that meaning is external. I don't think that meaning is given to us.
Mm.
I think the meaning is working ourselves through the path. We are here.
Mhm.
We just, oh, why we here? that, that's a question I don't think it's even worth thinking about. Why? Because okay, I don't think there is a why. I don't think there is a reason. I don't think there is a mastermind. But uh, even if there is, the fact is that we don't know. So I don't think it's worth the energy thinking about that. The thing is, we are here, and we have our
Mm-hmm.
challenges and we have our privileges, and we need to work our way through that with many variables, like we want to be happy, like we want to live in society, in a stable society as well, and things like that. So yeah, so seeking that best path for ourselves that are in consonance with all of these aspects. I think it is the meaning.
Yeah. If I
Sorry.
understood correctly, you're talking about like a built meaning rather than an assigned meaning,
Yes,
right?
absolutely that. Yes.
And
So
I think I've been there for many, many years. Right? For the biggest part of my life, that's exactly what I thought. Because it's not like it, the reality just is, right? There's nothing for you to
mhm.
think about. Why are you wasting time trying to
Even
struggle
if there
against
is a
it? It's like, it
mastermind,
just
right?
is.
Even
Even
if
if
there is a
what?
mastermind, even if there is a mastermind,
Oh, a mastermind. Yeah. No, I
reality
think
just is.
I didn't even consider
Mhm.
that, right? Like
Mhm.
mastermind, no mastermind, like no, whatever. That's irrelevant, right? Things are.
Yeah, that's real. Yes, yes,
Mhm.
we're on the same page in
Yeah.
that one. Yeah, things just are.
Yeah. And I think we even talked about this before. I started changing that outlook because it wasn't making me motivated to move forward
Mhm.
thinking that way. You know, it's like, okay, things just are, so I just have to deal with it and like, okay, why? There's no point in whatever. It was leading me down that nihilistic path and I didn't like where it
Mhm.
was
Yeah,
going.
that's nihilistic. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started looking for other answers and I really loved this one of no, I chose this. There's a point to it and I'm going to follow what I think will actually get me to fulfill this choice that I made, right? And that just it's funny because I don't know if everybody can do that or if it's just a thing that I do, right? I know that I choose to believe that because it brings me a benefit, you
Mhm.
know? I don't know if this is something that most people do as well. If they like choose the belief or if they just believe in something and follow blindly, you know?
I would say that at least in my social circle, not only the social circle, but kind of the society that I live. The, I think it's the same society that you live in, like
Yeah.
Brazilian, and it's. But I would say that most people choose to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, not sure. I think that most people are in two categories: choose to believe and told to believe. Okay,
Okay. Nice.
I think
Nice.
most people are in that big group.
Okay. If
Um,
you're watching this, please tell me in the comments what the hell goes on with you. Okay. I want to know what people
yeah,
go through. Do you choose to believe
yeah.
or do you, I don't know, see it in a different way?
And you know, I think I was in that place. I think I was in both places before I'm in that one that I don't choose to believe. I don't choose to believe as well as I can. Of course, eventually do that, but as well as I can, I do not. Whenever I get conscious about it, I think no, this I'm choosing to believe in this, but I need to see what reality actually is, right?
Hmm.
Uh, it is pretty frightening at first not to believe in anything, right? Not to choose to believe in anything. It's not an the way of living without believing in anything, I think, at least in our society, is not obvious. It's frightening.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't, at first you could feel there is absolutely no purpose. What am I doing here? What I'm going through everything that I think is unfair with me, if there is no point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's frightening. So you can eventually get to the point that, why don't I just end it? And it's now that's a pretty cool thing. So okay, that's a big message here, I think. So the answer to that question, why don't I just end it, is that philosophically, I mentioned the philosopher here, is that there are absolutely there are plenty of reasons not to end it. It's absolutely not worth to end it, right? And so the guy that I want to talk about is Albert Camus. Have you heard
Mm-hmm.
of him?
I don't think so.
He's a philosopher for the 20th century, a very
Okay.
materialist, very nihilistic, so very nihilist, yeah, very nihilist. And I get much of what I think I get from his ideas, and he goes through that topic, right? So he elaborates that work, that thinking of life is absolutely meaningless. That's no external meaning and stuff. And he works throughout that. He asks that question. So why don't you just end it? And he comes with beautiful conclusions why it's absolutely not worth to end it.
Okay, like what?
And so I think I'm not very studied in the guy, but so I think that the most relevant one is that if that's that you should not do, the answer for that is to not do the philosophical suicide. If you do the philosophical suicide, like you stop questioning, and
Mm,
I don't know, you don't accept reality and stuff. You I think you end up being the slave to what you want to believe, or what others want you to believe. But if you don't do the philosophical suicide, if you keep questioning, even if the questions are scary,
mm.
you end up realizing that, you know what, since it's absolutely meaningless and I'm already here, I kind of don't have to fear anything. Oh, have I disappointed my parents? I don't know. Um, it's it's actually meaningless. From 100 years from now, nobody will even know that we existed. So why not I just go and live my life like the way I think I should, and not to nurture anger for my parents, like respect what uh, accept that I will not live with them as I wanted, but also being closer, not breaking contact with them. I'm just this is an example of things that happen a lot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think you get the idea, but I don't know if you get the idea. It's not that I don't think. Sorry, I don't know if you are getting the idea. Sometimes I
You
get kind of fuzzy
no,
explaining
I,
here, but
ADHD is something.
uh,
But what I hear you saying is that you kind of find the meaning in courage, sort of, right? Like the
yeah,
courage
yeah,
to
it has
just do whatever the fuck you want.
you're right. You got it right.
Yeah,
So it has a lot to do with courage.
yeah. I like
So
it.
another guy that talks a lot about this is Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre.
Okay. I never read them. Probably
Yeah,
should.
I think one famous sentence from him is that we most of people, I think, is I, I think everybody is, but some deal better than others. So we are all scared about freedom,
Mm.
because freedom means that whatever happens to us, we have to acknowledge that it's our fault. We can't
Yep.
push the responsibility to someone else.
Terrifying
But
freedom.
once you get the courage to face it, it becomes so liberating. I try to go that path. I think I try to work that path out. You can't say I always work that way. I think it would be a stretch, but I think it's a good path to aim to.
Yeah. No, I really do like this outlook. Um,
Uh,
and I also wanted to bring something while you were talking about it that, yeah, a lot of people ask themselves the question, why not end it, right? And I think it's really, it's not sad, but it's really problematic. I don't know how to describe that. When people in that position choose to kind of live a passive suicide sort of situation, right? Like it's a person that no longer wants to pursue life, joy, courage, whatever,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
they are still here, right? Like they want nothing. They're just, oh, when is it gonna end already? Jesus.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. That must
This
be
is,
tough because it's constant suffering. Like
mm,
you're trying not to act because you learn that acting will eventually lead you to suffering. But by not acting, you are suffering that you just not living life, even though life is showing itself to you there. Hey,
this
I'm
to
here.
me, yeah, this to me is the danger of stating something like there is no meaning to life, right? If you really embody that assertion, you end up in this state of passive suicide.
Yeah. I think saying there is no meaning to life is, if I think too much about that, it even becomes illogical. Because okay, it could be an assigned meaning. It could be a self-determined meaning, but no meaning. It sounds to me to be a constant suffering.
Yeah.
And
And then it's worse than all the other alternatives almost, right?
yes, it's worse than all of it. You know, yeah, I'm remembering a guy here in Brazil, the philosopher of the streets. He was nicknamed the philosopher of the streets. Do you know who that guy is? Eduardo Marinho.
I, no, I don't think I do.
That guy is absolutely fascinating. And this is because um, he grew up in middle to high class in here in Brazil. His father was an army official officer.
Okay.
His father was from the army, and his father was escalating in the army while he was a kid, a teenager. He was a very privileged guy, and funny thing is that he didn't see the meaning, right? He couldn't he couldn't understand the unfairness, the discrepancies, people living in the streets,
Mm.
and he tried. Okay, I need to reference that guy's videos because he tells his story. I'm not attempt to do
Okay.
that, but when he turned like 17, 18, he had tried a few things. He had tried getting into the army. He had tried law school, but he didn't see meaning in any of this. And the meaning for him was, I need to go out. I need to go to the world and see what there is, see how it is. His father, but he had that thing, he would disappoint his father, right?
Mm.
And his father and mother were, they couldn't accept that. And they told him, okay, so you tried all these things, these do not mean anything to you. What do you want? So he said, I want to go out to the world. But what would you do? I don't know. I want to know what what is out there. So his father said, if you go out the door, you are dead to us. You do not get in contact with us. You don't have money. You don't have health insurance. You don't have food. You don't have a shelter. If you walk throughout the door, forget that we exist. You are dead to us. And he did. He said, of course, it was tough. He did. He became homeless. He slept on cardboard. He was hitchhiking. He was begging for food. He eventually became a street artist. It's fascinating. It's what is even more fascinating for me is that it's not that he did this to get himself the same level of because of fairness. It's not the thing. He cared about it. He cares about it a lot. But the reason was not that like we could say that it's a kind of hypocrisy or it's kind of bullshit that oh, we're going to live like homeless people. This will not change anything. Of course, it won't, and I think he knew that. But he wanted to take, he wanted to, ah, he wanted to pay to see it. He wanted
Do
to
you
pay
think
the
he had a
price. So I
calling
would.
or
Yeah,
something?
sorry.
Do you think he had a calling, like just this thing that kind of drew him to that that he couldn't quite
I think so.
explain?
So he is kind of spiritual. He's not like religious Christian, as far as I know, but he is spiritual. He doesn't believe that this life ends here. But
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't mention that this called. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. I never heard him mention that. It's. I think that what I understood from his story is that he is a guy that even though he lived in luxury, he didn't see the meaning and he wanted to see the meaning of what, okay, this is reality. I'm here. Why I'm here? Is that it? People serving me because they didn't have an opportunity that I had. And that's it. So
Mm-hmm.
he decided to pay the whichever price
Mm-hmm.
to see what the world had to show to. It's amazing. He faced lots of things. He faced poverty, but he talks very positively about the people that he get to know, the things that he lives through.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Mm-hmm.
what I think is I would like to if I had the opportunity I would like to ask him like all these positive things that he says, the people he knew, the generosity of poor people and etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good to hear. But I think, what about the difficulties? So he didn't say, doesn't go into those, and I think there must be many difficulties, like also bad people, right? There is
Mm-hmm.
bad people because they didn't have the opportunity to develop themselves and to
Mm-hmm.
get education, and they are bad and because of this. So I'm sure that he met lots of these people in his life, but he doesn't say much about it. So that's like something I would ask him. But that's a story.
Yeah.
So a guy that was born in privilege and chose to be a homeless to understand the world, yeah. To
That
find
actually
meaning to life.
illustrates, yeah, that actually illustrates really beautifully this idea that I chose to believe in, right? Like he chose the path of hardship because there was something there for him. and he could not have learned those lessons without the hardship. They come together, right?
Yes.
So yeah, that's exactly
Yes, I
what
see
helps
that.
me assign meaning to life.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
This,
this is very
this
breezy.
guy, I think this guy is very inspiring. I mean, I would not be able to do what he did, you know. And he says, and I'm not here to instruct anyone.
Hmm.
I don't think you should live like I did. I live like that because I thought it was the way that suited me.
Yeah,
That's another thing that I find awesome about it.
yeah.
But you see, this looks to me like an example of a person that actively gave a lot of meaning to his life.
Hmm.
Right?
Absolutely. Assigned, right? He assigned that meaning to his life.
Yes.
And
Even though
do
many
you
things,
think?
okay, go on.
I'm gonna change the topic slightly
No
because
problem.
of the way that you look at things, right? And on material outlook. Do you believe that he made these choices because of pure biology and you know
Oh,
so happened that this guy was born like this and he made that choice? How do you
okay.
connect these things?
Well, I think so because thing is, it, okay, I'm trying to phrase it here. Uh, Let me try to see if I understand your question better. Because you
Okay.
say, but when you say, um, by if he did this by sheer biology, right?
Mm-hmm.
What you're asking is, I eventually end up falling into that free will thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so are you asking if that was a like higher calling or it
No,
doesn't get to that?
because I know what I believe, right? And we can go over that all
Uh,
day. But I'm
uh,
trying to understand what you believe. How do you put those things together? It's like, is it just a fluke? Like this guy came in with a biology that just so happened to lead him down this path, and he assigned some meaning to his life, but it doesn't really mean much because he already had the chemicals in his brain anyway. Like, is that how you think, or am I
okay, okay,
missing something?
yeah, I get it. So okay, thinking about it, it's sheer biology and chemistry. Even though I think our mind is that, is sheer biology and chemistry, it emerges. I think it emerges from that, right?
Mm,
Um, Saying only that would be possibly too simplistic because there are philosophical aspects,
mm,
not scientific aspects, but philosophical aspects of the mind,
okay.
right? So um, here's how I try to put it. Let's see if it answers your question, right? So I think that with whichever conclusions he got to in his mind that led to him to this way, um, they came from his mind and his perception of the world. And I don't think um, that he related that to a spirit, to like another plane of existence that we are not aware about. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that there was a higher calling for him, right?
Okay.
I'm just trying to avoid to say that those are pure chemistry and physics in his brain because there are philosophical
But
aspects.
why? Okay. Yeah, like
Why
I
what?
want to understand why you're avoiding using the chemistry word, right?
Because okay, I think the concept of emergence is what I'm looking for here. Because
Okay.
the mind, I think that mind emerges from sheer biology and chemistry and maybe physical things that we don't know about yet.
Mm. Matter.
Uh, matter, purely
Mm-hmm.
matter, purely matter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it emerges from that. And here is kind of the emergence is kind of a part that we get to. We don't know how to explain it, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
the mind, I think the mind is composed by sheer biology and chemistry, but it is more than that philosophically. Because what I
Mm.
can think of here is like I thought of philosophers saying it's the concept of blueness, for example.
Mm.
The color blue, right? So it's there are blue pigments, physical. This is physical.
Mm-hmm.
There is a blue wavelength of light that reflects from that pigment and gets to your eye. That's physical. That are chemical reactions in our brain that respond to that blue thing, that to that blue wavelength that gets blue into our to be interpreted by our brain. That's all I
Mm-hmm.
said here was physical. But what about the perception of blue? This is philosophical, and this emerges from what I just said. But I cannot explain it.
Mm.
Um, so I think I told that story once in a breeze. Have you heard of the Mary's room? I think it's just what I said.
Don't
Okay,
know
so Mary is a woman that grew up in a black and white room. Mary never saw any color in her life, only black and white. He never
that.
left
Got
it. She
snacks.
never she never left that room, right? So everything she read, it was all black and white. Everything was her life was black and white. She was coated with some stuff that made her black and white as well,
Okay.
grayscale, right? She does not have the concept of color, but she studied. She's like the most studied person in color ever. She knows everything about wavelengths and what is the wavelength of blue and which the sky is blue, even though she never saw the sky and the photos of the sky she saw were gray. She knows that it is blue, but she never saw blue. So this is a philosophical established problem, right? And okay, she knows about everything. She knows everything about blue, about red, about colors. She never saw them. So the point here is that in what I explained to you, that's what Mary knows. She knows the physical aspects of color, but she doesn't know blueness, right? So the philosophical
Mm.
question is, okay, so Mary is now 80 years old, and you open the room, and she goes out and sees the sky and see everything in color. And I think the philosophical question is, does she get anything new,
Mm.
right? And I think yes. I think yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not explainable in scientific things. It's philosophical.
Mm-hmm.
I think I
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, she gets to see the sky as blue.
She
She
gets
never
the
did that.
experience of seeing
Yes,
rather
the
than the
experience.
intellectual
The
cognition
experience.
of
Yes,
wavelengths, right?
yes. That's the reason why I um, try not to stay into that thing, into that saying that the mind is biology and chemistry, because it may be misleading. It's not that I don't believe that. I do believe that the mind is only that. But there is something that emerges from that, and just stating that it's pure biology and chemistry and that's not talk about anything else is too simplistic.
Okay, gotcha.
Right? So I think basically it's, if you ask me, so it's the thing that bugs me is not that I think there is anything spiritual to life. what's spiritual, like higher plane of existence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not what I think. But then I think
But
there is something philosophical. Philosophical.
uh-huh. But what if okay, hold up. First let me make sure that I
Okay, we
understood
derailed
the
a
way that
lot
you were
here.
yeah. Like no, I just want to make sure that I didn't misunderstand part of it, right? The
Okay.
way that you organize it in your mind is yes, there is matter and there is chemistry, and there's also like some more cognitive things that are not
Yeah.
explainable, at least not yet, right? It's something
Yes.
more
Yes.
philosophical. It's this thing out here, right? Like
Yes.
I can't
Yes.
really
That
name
I
it
that
specifically.
I must insist. I don't think is spiritual. Because many people
Yeah,
may think like, okay, so in the bottom of your heart you made no, in the bottom of my heart I
yeah,
do not
no.
believe in spiritual.
Yeah, and that's not where I'm going with it because yeah, it
Yeah, I
could be
understand. Yeah.
the assertion could be made that this non-explainable thing is spiritual. You're just not wanting to assign that name to it,
Oh
right?
yes,
Which is what
yes,
you're
it could
saying,
be.
and that's not the point that I'm going. So
It could
understanding from
be
this
right. So
person,
I must acknowledge that this could be the explanation.
who's to say, right?
Yeah.
And and yeah, I get it that spiritual, in my mind, my opinion, sometimes is seen as different things by different people,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's a complex topic. But here's
Mhm.
my thing. What if this thing, this unexplainable thing, could be matter, but matter in, like, for example, a different dimension, a different plane of existence, something very physical, very explainable by science,
Yes.
but just beyond what we understand for our existence?
Could be. I think there is unlikely because I think the spiritual explanations are much more guided by our human instincts, our necessities, right? Than actual.
Mm-hmm.
I think that explain the explanation that could be some physics down here that we don't know yet that would explain that God exists.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that could be, but I think it's unlikely because I think the human mind makes that path, right? So
Yeah,
yeah, but yeah, of course, there could be
yeah.
new physical particles that we didn't know about that could explain a parallel world that we
Mm-hmm.
cannot access and we only access when we die. Of course, okay, that could be,
And I
but
think that leads nicely into our next breeze, right? Which
Mhm.
is the whole thing about quantum physics is material or spiritual,
Oh yes,
right?
yes, that connects
I
pretty
think,
well. Yeah.
yeah. And just as a little bit of a spoiler here, in my mind, this thing that you just described, the dimensions or however you just put it, to me, in my brain, this is a lot closer to spiritual than religious spiritual, than God is a dude sitting on a
Uh-huh.
throne, you know?
So okay, just to see if I understand, you're saying that what I call an emergence is what you call spiritual. Is that what you're saying?
Okay. Let me get back to you on that. I'm gonna have to read about this concept of emergence to understand it a little better
Okay,
before
no, that's yeah.
making
So
that statement.
yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So the idea in this idea of emergence is something that I took a while to grasp, right?
Okay.
But in a few words, it's
Hmm.
the appearance of a behavior that um, comes from a simpler mechanism. That if you try to describe that mechanism, you can't absolutely you can logically come to the concept that arose. Right?
Okay.
I think so. One one try of an explanation that I heard was wetness. Like
Mm.
water is wet, right? But a molecule of water, H2O, is not wet. Two molecules of water, they're not wet. They don't. What's wet? What's when water sticks to you? Okay, how about 10 molecules of water? Still not wet. Okay, what's the limit then? You can tell. But what you say is that when you put lots of molecules of water together, an emergence, a concept of wetness emerges, right? It just
Okay.
exists when it comes together. You can't explain it mechanically. I mean, the feeling of wetness, you can't explain it mechanically, but
Okay. You're making me think about the movie Interstellar. I think we even mentioned it last week, right?
about what? Interstellar?
The movie
Yeah.
Interstellar. You're making me think about it because in that
Before
movie
I
they
die.
explore the idea of love as being like a universal law, kind of like gravity or whatever. Do you remember that part in that movie?
I didn't get this. So it's been a while. I watched that movie. I don't remember actually that part of interpretation of love. I do remember, and this is go so much into what our quantum breeze.
Hmm.
But even though it's not quantum, but maybe
Yeah,
it is. I mean,
whatever.
but I mean the graviton, okay, the particle
Oh,
of
okay.
gravity.
Oh, okay.
So I remember that that gravity is the key for the guy inside the black hole to communicate with his daughter in the past. Is that part you're talking about?
No, the part that I'm talking about is the lady that's Anne Hathaway. I forget the name of the character. That
Yes. Okay.
she is in love with this one guy. And spoiler alert, okay? If you haven't watched the movie,
Uh-huh.
for the love of God, go watch it because it's really
Yeah.
good. Um, but this lady is in love with the guy, and he happens to be the very person that was on the right planet, and that love was the universe leading her to the right planet.
Wow. Okay.
Did you
Maybe I
miss
kind
that
of
part?
remember it, but I would really like
It's
to
very subtle.
watch again
Very
or
subtle.
read something about online because yeah, I don't remember paying much attention to that. But okay,
Yeah. Uh, and
at least I
anyway,
don't
the
remember
reason
it.
why okay, the reason why I'm bringing that is because when I watched that part, I was like in awe for a while processing that because they were, at least in the reading that I made, was that they were kind of insinuating that things like love can be a matter, a measurable thing, or an
Oh,
emergence, or
okay, okay, cool,
right.
okay,
And I
okay.
was like, oh wow, my God.
I think it boils down to the emergence. I think that's why you're saying maybe
Yeah,
love is
yeah,
an emergence of physical particles. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. um in a way that's more than just, oh yeah, oxytocin in your body. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about, right? It's not just the some
Yeah.
molecule that's in your body.
Even
It's,
more fundamental than biological, what you're saying.
yeah, it's something that goes beyond dimensions almost, because that movie explores this concept of dimensions as well, right? And I don't know, I just like to think about that and think about where spirituality kind of is more about science than we'd like to think. You
Hmm.
know, I'm not a person that is gonna go literally onto the dogma of whatever religion. When I think about spirituality, I think of something more akin to this dimension, to the unexplainable, to,
I
I don't know, the
understand.
idea of
Yeah.
multiverse or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. I mean, it sounds that when you think about spirituality, you're not thinking about, I mean, one or a few people in a higher plane commanding us, but you're thinking of other
Yeah.
possibilities of existence that we are not aware of.
or even a higher power or a mastermind, as you put it, right? The reason why I was like, not really a mastermind is because I don't really see it like that, like this position of the mastermind, but it's more of a everything is the mind, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I don't know if you ever thought about this. This maybe could be another breeze, but have you ever thought that we are a way of the universe being a bit aware of itself? Because we are
okay,
matter. We are matter. We are made from elements that came from stars and clumped together. And here we are. We can actually interact with other parts of matter of the same universe, and we can manipulate it, and we can manipulate it so we can change ourselves or do some maintenance to ourselves, and we can have even the philosophical emergence of being like amazed with the universe, the what exists, etc. So the universe being aware of itself, yeah, I think it's mind-blowing.
I love that concept. That's
Yeah,
fantastic. Do you know anybody that talks like about that?
I think
Anybody in science?
Carl Sagan
Oh,
probably talked about that. I don't remember reading,
okay.
but it sounds too Carl Sagan to me, right?
Okay. Okay. That's
Um,
interesting. So,
I think there are lots of people that I don't know lots, I don't know if lots, but of course this came to the mind of several people, but I don't think to the majority of people. I think the majority of people don't breeze about that. But it's not
hell to the
unlikely. It's
no.
not, it's not unlikely that you will find someone saying about that. Probably Carl Sagan. So Carl Sagan said that we are made of star stuff. I think
Uh-huh.
yeah, we are made of star stuff. So he's basically saying
Yeah.
with that phrase. I understand it. So have you thought about it? We made from things that there are balls exploding, that we are made of the same things, and we are aware of them. Wow.
Yeah. I actually would love to take a seat and talk to these guys, like Carl Sagan types, because I think, I don't know, this breeze is so giant and so cool. I
It's
was
giant.
rewatching the, yeah, I was rewatching The Universe by the History Channel. I think I mentioned that to you. And I got exactly the episode where they talk about parallel universes, right?
Mhm.
And they're explaining that in scientific terms. And there are a whole bunch of scientists like really excited about the idea of a multiverse. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's scientific. It's anyway. I
Yeah,
just I
that
love
can
that kind of.
I certainly be able to uh, have the opportunity to tell this in our quantum breeze, but I this is something I don't understand from the
Quantum
physics.
breeze.
Yeah,
What?
that is something that I really don't get about quantum mechanics, like this parallel universe thing. This is a serious. This is considered in uh, mainstream academia. I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it. It seems to me that it's a simple made up explanation. It's clearly not. But
Okay.
I can't see why. I just don't
Yeah.
understand. It's goes
It's
beyond what I
mind-boggling. Yeah.
what I've read.
All right. Well, if you watching this know anything about this stuff, write in the comments and be
Yeah.
here next week because we need you. Because we're gonna breeze
And
about quantum physics without being experts on the topic. Love it.
yeah, right. And tell us also, um, does life have a meaning to you? Do you make that meaning? Do you receive that meaning? Is it both? Is it 42?
Is it 42? It's totally
comment
42.
comment
Yeah.
what you think. How do you see that? a meaning of life thing. Do you have a conclusion for that?
Yeah. I
Do
guess
you have
I'd
a conclusion?
say, yeah, I'd just say that like there's no way that humans can lead a productive life without a meaning, right? So there is no meaning. Well, if there's no meaning, we must assign one. Otherwise, we're
Yeah.
gonna become zombies, living zombies, right?
Philosophical zombies is what Albert Camus used.
Philosophical
Yeah.
zombies. There you go. But what's the meaning of life? Um, I guess the word that comes to my mind as I'm thinking about it after our breeze, I never thought about this before, but after our breeze is virtue. Because joy, courage, all these meanings that we talked about today that people can assign, they kind of come from virtue, right? From whatever we deem virtuous.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
this would be a pretty good meaning, if any.
Yeah. I think virtue boils down to the well-being in general, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, yeah, I would say life has a meaning. As you said, perhaps if there is no meaning, you end up you didn't say that, but even unconsciously assigning a meaning to it.
Hmm.
I'm thinking aloud here. I can't even grasp the concept of life not having a meaning
Mm. All
because I
right.
think it would be automatically self-assigned if it doesn't exist.
All right.
I
And
mean,
then what's the meaning? What would you say is the meaning, like in your
okay,
mind?
what is the meaning? Yeah, I think it is acknowledging acknowledging the unfairness, um, being allowing yourself to be sad, allowing yourself, even though you have some privileges, and also acknowledge those privileges. Um, okay, let me rock my part here with something that I read from Bertrand Russell, philosopher.
Mhm.
It's an outstanding philosopher, but I didn't read anything from him, any books. But he has. I read a phrase from him, which is the secret to happiness. Something like the secret to happiness is to acknowledge that the world is awful. I think it has a lot to do with that. Like when I say I acknowledging the unfairness, right? Um, and um, learning to acknowledge to be grateful to your privileges and to acknowledge the unfairness that we're subject to.
Okay. Would you
And
say the
it's
meaning of
hard to wrap it.
life is accepting it?
Yeah, yeah.
Like trying to put it in as
Accepting
accepting it as it is.
accepting and learning, accepting a lot and learning and learn to manipulate the little you can, to control the little you can.
Okay. All right. I guess that
Cool.
that settles it.
Cool breeze today.
I know. Today was a quantum breeze. Quantum breezes
Okay.
are complex and they involve many different particles.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I guess
Okay.
I'll catch you next week.
Yeah. See you there.
All right.